Salve a tutti, sono Almarok e benvenuti in un nuovo video. Oggi siamo qui per fare un'intervista a Taneli Yarva, famoso per essere stato bassista degli Impale Nazarene e per essere stato, oltre che bassista, cantante anche nei Sentenced. Prima di iniziare lo ringrazio per la sua disponibilità, per aver accettato di essere nostro ospite, vi lascio l'intervista e vi auguro buona visione. Nice to meet you, thank you for staying today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Why you started to do music, why you started to do with metal music, tell me about the beginning of your career, your influences, your first bands.
Well, I remember vividly that I got into heavy metal um from Iron Maiden, and more specifically, the Killers album, which was when I was 8 year old, when my family had translocated back from Italy to Finland. I got some new friends, and one of them had a cassette of Iron Maiden's Killers and recorded it to me. And after that, it was an obsession for me to hear more about this. But having said that, I never heard a better heavy metal album than Killers by Iron Maiden. But as far as the making music comes, that came a bit later. I never wanted to be a musician. I never wanted to make a career out of it. I didn't have any inclination to that. I just wanted to make some noise. Initially, I wanted to play drums, but I just didn't have anybody in my immediate circle of friends who could join me with this stuff. So I basically did that all by myself, just making noise and recording that shit on cassette, as you did in the late 80s, early 90s. But eventually, I got asked to join those bands that you mentioned when I was 16 or 17. And the rest is history, I guess.
Now let's talk about your story with Impale Nazarene, your opinion about your album with Impale Nazarene, and why you decided to leave from the band.
I was a kind of a fan of the band in 91. I saw them play here in Finland with the old lineup, and in my opinion, that's still the best Impale Nazarene lineup that there was. Satanic death metal. There was no such thing as black metal. Only Venom was black metal at that time, until the Norwegians got the bright idea to call this music black metal. Well, whatever, I digress. So I saw them play on here in Oulu, my hometown, in 1991, and it made an impression. I bought their demo tape, and I liked it very much. It was very rough stuff for an impressionable teenage guy like myself. Never heard or seen anything like that. The only thing that on the demo, the logo of the band was quite shit, in my opinion. It didn't represent their image or their music in any way. So I, without solicitation, I drew a logo for them and sent it by mail or whatever, I don't remember. And this is the way I got to know these people. Then they asked me to draw a t-shirt design for them, and I did. And next thing you know, their old lineup disintegrated and they needed new guys, so they asked me to play the bass. I've been playing with Sentenced for roughly a year at that point, so I figured I could fit another band in my schedule, and for a while it worked. But obviously, after 4 albums with both bands and then touring and stuff, and the things that just growing bigger, it came impossible to keep it up with two bands that were getting more attention and getting more successful. So Impaled was the first to go in that sense. It was a no-brainer for me. I wanted to concentrate on the Sentence thing. I like the Ugra Karma album best. For me, that's the satanic death metal that it kind of represented. That was, in my opinion, that was the thing. also it's got quite a lot of fast songs. It's got a good sound quality and it's got a good vibes, and I have a good memory from those sessions.
Let's talk about your story with Sentenced.
It was pretty much the same as with Impel Nazarene. I was the guy. I was just a guy in the, the scene, for want of a better word, the scene as it was, this very small death metal scene in Finland and northern Finland. I was the guy who spoke and wrote a bit of English, and I could hold a pen in my hand and make logos and artwork, drawing flyers for demos, for gigs and stuff. So that was my way into these bands. And this was, the Sentence thing happened just like that. I think they heard that I'd been drawing some shit of writing lyrics for some other band. I did some for the band called, I think the first thing I did was for a band called Belial from Oulu. Do you know them?
Yeah.
Belial, yeah. They were around for a bit, doing at the same time doing the same thing. So they asked me to write lyrics for them, and I figured that why not? I mean, I had no idea what they wanted to sing about or whatever, but I just wrote some lyrics and wrote some, and then they asked me to draw the cover for the demo. So that's what I did. I was just that guy. But I guess the guys in Sentence, after I've been doing this stuff and we get to know each other, they felt that, playing bass is not so difficult. So maybe we can teach this dude, this 16-year-old guy, to play bass. And that's how I joined. And after 3 weeks or something, I don't know, a few weeks, we were already recording our first album, Shadows of the Past, with Sentenced. So life was strange at the time. They were all different albums. It's basically like my years in the band were the start of their recording career, 91 until 95. That's like 4 years. What? 96. Yeah, sorry. But anyways, that's 4 or 5 years. And every release that we put out sounded different, like it was from a different band. My explanation for this is that we were so young that we didn't have the direction yet. The first album was like pure Florida death metal, like Chuck Schuldiner style, Obituary style death metal. Then in 93, the second album, North From Here, was like technical, more dark, kind of with blacker vibes, as that was starting to happen at the time here in the North, at least. And whereas in 95, the Amok album had already more melodic and Iron Maidenish and more mainstream, maybe gothic influences on it. And I think that just started to go more into that direction. And I guess at the time, I don't remember why I quit the band, really. I don't have an answer. I didn't have an explanation for that. I was 21. It had run its course for me. I wanted to do different things, and I jumped off the train, and that's it. That's the most successful I have ever been in my musical journey. So that will be 30 years next year since I left those bands. And still we're here talking about them, right?
What do you remember about the former Sentenced guitarist Mika Tenkul and about his death? Your memories about him?
My memories about him are from our time together, where I was in the band, when I was in the band. We had a good time. He was a great guy, and he was such a talented musician. He was basically the heart and soul of a band, in the sense that he was the genius composer behind these songs, for better or for worse. But he had he was a self-taught guitar player with a very clearly distinct own style of writing, even inside different genres of music. Like, as I mentioned before, from death metal to like technical death metal, and later, of course, they became a totally different animal, and which I wasn't no part of anymore. But I think Mika's vision, Mika's melodic genius was always there, and that's what carried the band for as long as it did. And they did quite a major mainstream career after I left the band. So yeah, obviously I didn't. It would have been a different direction where I would have personally gone, but that was it was a very successful thing. After I left the band, I wasn't too much in touch with Mika, although he's my like second cousin from my father's side. So we had the connection, but you know, when life happens, you don't really hang around. It's like when you change your workplace, you don't hang around with the guys from your old workplace that much. Or when you get divorced, you don't hang around with your ex that much. So we were not that much that often in touch with Mika, but every now and then, maybe just a drunken phone call. And so what I remember about his death is just that I got the news by phone and or by SMS text message that Mika is dead, and it's well, it's a horrible thing to die unexpectedly at 35.
Let's talk about your actual music project and your plans for 2025.
2025 is it's at its almost at its end. Well, in its middle right now. Yeah, I've been making music like almost continuously all the time since I left those bands. So basically, I'm remembered from the stuff that I did in my teenage years. But that's fine because music was never my career. It was never my job, and I never had an ambition to make it like a successful thing for me. It's just some outlet that I need to have, and I move on with the times all the time with myself. I'm 50 now, you know, so I couldn't imagine myself like live action role play style doing some fucking like satanic death metal thing at this age right now. Being honest, that would not be me. I still listen to that stuff, to the all the old stuff, all the rough stuff, the hard stuff, the heavy stuff. I listened to it, but I couldn't really imagine myself playing that like it's not my outlet. So what I do now is more like an acoustic-based dark folk kind of thing, and it's got my own name, Te Jarva and the Dark Place. You can find it, the videos on the internet. There's this thing called YouTube and stuff. So it's all out there. You can research it. And we played some doom metal festivals, but we played some country festivals. So, you know, it's somewhere out there, somewhere in the middle. It's, I don't know how to say it, but we have one album out. We've done a bunch of gigs during the last, basically the 20s. I've only been doing this Dark Place thing like as my main musical outlet. So I'm gonna carry on with that. And right now we have recorded half of our next album, second album, and still need to work a bit on the other half. And next year, 26 that's gonna see the light of day then.
If you want to be remembered for an album in your career, if you want to say who is the most representative album in your career, which is and why?
Well, I know the albums that I will be remembered about, but they are not the same as what are closer to my heart. You know, that's the thing. When you grow, when you give your whole life to making music, it's not those high points that are necessarily the most deep and important chapters in your life. I've been making music now, recording and playing gigs for 34 years. How old are you, by the way?
26.
Yeah. So put this into perspective. These we're talking about ancient times, and that's fine. But yeah, I know I will be remembered for the Amok album by Sentence, but I mean, that was a record that was done by a 19-year-old guy. I mean, I barely know him now. When I look in the mirror, I'm a 50-year-old guy. That's I could be literally, I could be his father. He did some amazing things in his age, but I mean, I am more mature now. I'm a grown up now. So what I would like to be remembered by is the last thing that I do before I fucking kick the bucket, and that's it. Because that's always what counts. You're only as good as you last.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for staying today. Good luck for your project. And thank you. Bye.
Oh, thank you. I'm happy that we could finally get this done.